What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to be giving a quick update on my Hobbit edit. I know I keep doing updates over and over recently, but I'm back into it, and so I figured I might as well just punch out as many improvements and fixes as I can, and I think I'm done now. So I've said that multiple times, but I posted a long video going over every update and transition like a week or two ago, I'm not sure, and that was everything. But you know, I did this one small adjustment to the start of part 2 just a couple days ago, and I thought I might as well make a video about it because it was pretty interesting what I was able to pull off. So I'm also going to take this time to explain my transition from part 1 to part 2 in my edit anyways, just because we're on the topic. So I've edited the Hobbit trilogy into one long movie which follows the book, and the problem was that in an unexpected journey it ends at morning with them looking at the mountain, and then Desolation of Smaug starts at night with them in a sort of forest area on a mountain. So it just was completely different settings and times, but it worked because they were separate movies. But now I want to make it one movie, and so I've got to find a workaround. What I've done now is there's an intermission, but it's not called an intermission. I mean, that's kind of an old thing in movies, and like Middle Earth movies have never had a straight up intermission. But what they have had is an insert next disc screen. So I do have, for the disc version, it just will have this insert or continues on disc 2, that completely accurate to the Hobbit Blu-ray. So that works fine for the disc version. It covers up the transition, gives you a break. But for the MP4 version, obviously it's not on disc. So I've just changed it to say part 2. There we go. So this covers up the transition, and it also allows it my edit to follow the same format as the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition Blu-rays, which are also on 2 parts. So, you know, it's kind of cool, I guess, that now each Middle-earth movie, there are 4 of them in my timeline. There's the 3 Lord of the Rings in this Hobbit edit. Each one has 2 parts. So, you know, it's kind of cool like that. They're all relatively the same runtime too, around 4 hours, a little bit less. So I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. But anyways, now we move on to part 2. This is where it begins. They're at night, and a couple things need to be addressed in the opening of this movie. We need to give the audience some information before we move on. So number 1, we need to get them from just the wilderness into Beorn's house. That's our number 1 objective. Number 2, we want to at least introduce us to Beorn, like the bear at least. It can't just pop out of nowhere. And then number 3, we need to sort of remind the audience that the orc pack, or the warg pack from the end of part 2, they are still a threat. So these 3 things can't be skipped over, or else it just sort of feels rushed, in my opinion. So let's start off. I've added actually this new shot. If you downloaded the MP4 right now, it won't actually have this literal, like, what is it, 3-second shot, but you know, that's fine. So I just added this. What this does is the movie now starts, and we establish it. Okay, the orcs and the wolves are coming back. And I've redone the sounds. I guess I'll talk about this. I have an outer channel surrounding quiet footsteps and wargs, and then I have a center channel footsteps a little bit louder, and then we slowly fade into the original audio like that. And then I also have some wind ambiance to cover it all up. And so you can see it flows pretty smoothly, so I'll just show it again. And you might ask, well, so what is the point of this? Why am I even showing this edit? Well, originally in the movie we had a bunch of close-ups of Azog, and it was a little bit longer. So now I've been able to shorten it. So we introduced the orcs and the wargs. Okay, so that's number 1 done. We see Bilbo scouting out, and then he notices Beorn. So that's number 2. And so now we know the company is facing these 2 threats. We get a cool little shot of Beorn. And then I removed the Desolation of Smaug titles card scene, obviously, or shot. So now it just cuts from. So then now we're back to the company. I've also added a little wolf warg howl.
How close is the pack?
And so Thorin's asking about the pack. So now the audience is fully aware that the pack is still a threat, and because that was like in the book. In the book, the eagles helped them escape, but they still had the threat of the wargs. So we have that fully established to the audience. Nothing is confused. The only thing that was not explained was the fact that it's now night and they're a little bit further. But we don't really need an explanation for that. Now that everything is sort of explained with the wolves and the wargs and their new threat, and the audience is already thinking about this new thing, which is Beorn, we can sort of skip over the fact that now it's night, and so I think it works well. So now, that was a really long explanation for not that much footage, but anyways, you get the idea. So now we've moved on, and the company is going to talk it out and figure out what they have to do. Now Gandalf realizes that not only are there still the wargs coming after them, but also that there's Beorn who could get them. So he decides to change his original plan from just whatever hiking across, and so now he realizes they need to go to Beorn's house. And the reason why he wouldn't immediately want to go to Beorn's house is it's explained. I mean, Beorn is a tricky man. He could kill you or he could help you. And so Gandalf was worried if they would just straight up go to his house for no reason. So that's why he didn't bring them there immediately. He just would rather hike on his own with the company. But now he has no choice. And so he says that right here.
None.
And so then we transition into here. This is new. So originally, let me show you. So there's no choice, Gandalf says. Wait. Did I? Oh, never mind. This shot is flipped. I'll explain that later. That's why it's weird. Anyways, originally we go from no choice to running across a stream, running across a plain with a couple trees and some plants. Then now we're out of that and we're onto a new plain, and there's another like river, I guess. And then a second later, sorry if it's loud, now they're back in a forest. It just made no geographical sense. I mean, they're in a forested area here, in a plains, in a forest. So what was this jump, Peter Jackson? I don't know. You didn't explain the flow naturally at all. And the other problem with this is not only does it make no sense how they're traversing all these different areas so quickly, but also how are they not getting run down by the wargs? I mean, they're completely in the open with no cover. So this is what M4 has found to fix. We cut from Gandalf to an establishing shot of the forest that they're in. You can see those mountains. Those mountains were these same ones that you see here. So they've made it pretty far. And then, whoops, let's just turn this down. Sorry if this is loud and you couldn't hear me earlier. So then we cut to, as the camera pans down into the forest, boom, we're in the forest still. The same sort of forested area as this, but just further down the line. Geographically, it makes sense. This shot has been flipped, so it shows them running this way, because then we cut to a shot of them running this way. And so it's sort of just showing that, you know, they're running down this hill in a zigzag pattern away. Like, when it was not flipped, it showed them running this way and then running this way, and it just looked like identical shots. But it flows really well now. So I'll play this at the end of the video. Sorry, I know some of you might just want to see it right away and then be done with it, but I want to explain it. So then we have a shot of them, but then we skip some shots of, let's explain. So originally there were shots intercut with the actual wargs, but the problem with this was there are too many orcs and you could see Azog, so I obviously had to cut those. And then also, yeah, they stopped and they kept running. And so all of that's gone. So now there's no messing around. There's no Azog. We just, in the forest, running, and then they've eventually finally made it out of the forest, you can see, and onto Baron's house. And that is it, and it works perfectly in my opinion. So now let's go over any video changes. So the only thing that I've changed is the color correction on here. We can see when I remove this, oh, look at that. This is a super high saturated, unexpected journey, Radagast forest scene, transformed in a desolation of smog. What's it called? I guess outside of wherever Beorn's house is. Really cool. I think I pulled it off great. So we can see the leaves turn more yellowish red. Saturation overall decreases. Sky turns from blue to gray to match how you can see here. If you look in through the trees, you can see it's also gray. Same with out here. But you know, it works good enough for what I'm doing. Whoops. Okay, so now let's talk about audio. Originally, let's see, this is what it did originally.
None.
So it hit on the music, it had this build up, and then it hit the music right about here. But the problem was we can hear those footsteps of the rain, so now I've had to cover that up. So let's play here. So what I mean by cover that up is I've taken the soundtrack and I've extended it a little bit longer, so let's listen.
None.
And so it's completely seamless. You might think it sounds like it's getting too loud here, but that's the point. The volume of the soundtrack is increasing as he says none, but
None.
and then there we go. And so then I have it quickly fade out because it used to hit on the beat right there. And now what I've done is it hits on the beat at a different part, but at the same, like, it's on beat, but it's a different part of the soundtrack. So we can hear this is what the new soundtrack is. And the reason for that is now when we get down to this part, you can see I've linked up the soundtrack because, you know how I mentioned I cut all that AUJ footage and them stopping in the forest. So this is the covered up transition. I'll play it again. So there we go. The soundtrack was perfect. There's a little bit of a, you know, I don't know what the word is, just vocals and like other footsteps that faded in, you could tell. But I've covered that up because right here, I have a really quiet track of them running. You can actually hear music in this, but it doesn't matter in the 5.1 setup. You won't hear that. I'll make it louder just for the sake of the video. You can hear they're running fast through a dirt grassy area, just like in this forest. So that's perfect to cover up the. Here, I'll play it with the sound. Oh, well, I guess you can't really hear that well unless you are. Oh shoot! Sorry, I forgot to turn up my volume. Let's play all those again. So we got the soundtrack. Let's do that.
None.
Whoops. Sorry about that. We'll just do the soundtrack all the way through.
None.
There we go. I'm super happy with that. So it flows really well. As I was saying earlier, I don't know if you could hear that, but I have a track of them running with grass and footsteps. Perfect. And then also, as we have this sort of establishing shot of the forest, I have another reminder that there's still the wolves out there. And there's a little bird. When we're in the forest, sounds good. And then what is this? Oh yeah, and this is just general sound and wind of nature. Because we're heavy in the forest, and so we need that sound to cover up how it's just soundtrack and center channel. So like if I were to get rid of this, it's literally just music and then the howling. So I wanted to put some nature sounds in there too. So there we go. I guess I'll play it one more time, just all the way through. So yeah.
None.
There we go. It was so simple. Well, not really. This was hard to edit and, you know, figure out, but it was just like barely any footage, as you can see, was restructured and deleted. So yeah, and now we have a new sequence. Oh, I guess I didn't mention it, but this shot, let's just make a copy. This is where it's from, by the way. Sorry, it's from Unexpected Journey, which I've obviously cut that part of the movie, so I was able to repurpose this footage. I guess I didn't technically say that, but I assumed it was pretty clear that I pulled that footage from elsewhere. Maybe I did say that, I don't even know at this point. So there we go, that's the start of part 2, redone. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I actually want to show just last minute. Not really, actually. I will say, you know, I changed my mind and I got rid of the extra dialogue here. It just felt kind of random and forced. So all that happens is he says, and then that's it. And then they just stare proudly. And then we cut to this. We don't need to have the oh, the worst was behind us. Good omen dialogue, because it felt kind of random. Why would Thorin out of the blue say a bird is a good omen? The original context was that they thought it was a different kind of bird or something, and then Gandalf corrected them and was like, actually no, that's just a thrush. But then Thorin was like, well, it's a good omen. But without that earlier context, it just seems kind of random. So I got rid of that dialogue. But yeah, then it plays out like I've shown. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys enjoy. You can download in the description, and it'll have everything in this video. The one thing it's missing is, like I said at the start, this like 3-second shot, but that will show up in the future. Alright, see you guys.